The most powerful person you have ever been in a room with probably did not say very much. Think about it. Think about the person in your life, a teacher, a boss, an older man, anyone who made you feel like every word they said actually meant something, who made the room shift slightly when they spoke, who you never felt the need to test or challenge. Were they the loudest? Were they the most talkative? Did they fill every silence with words? Almost certainly not. And yet, most men are doing the exact opposite, filling every silence, explaining every thought, talking to prove they belong in the conversation. And every word they add past the point of necessity is quietly costing them the thing they are trying to build, authority. This video is going to show you exactly what silence communicates at a psychological level. Why the brain assigns more power to the person who speaks less. And the specific situations where staying silent will do more for your reputation than anything you could possibly say. Stay with me, because what I am about to break down will change the way you use your voice permanently. There is a concept in social psychology called the pratfall of verbosity. It describes a consistent finding across multiple studies. The more a person talks in a group setting, the more their individual statements are discounted by listeners. Not because the content is bad, but because volume dilutes perceived value. Think of it like currency. If a government printed unlimited money, each note would be worth less. Your words work the same way. When you speak constantly, each thing you say is assigned less weight, not consciously, but automatically by every brain in the room. But when you speak rarely, deliberately, and only when you genuinely have something to add, each word lands with disproportionate force. The people who understand this intuitively are the most influential people in almost every room they enter. And they are not doing it as a performance. They have simply internalized a truth that most people never learn. Restraint is not weakness. Restraint is precision. And precision is power. Here is where it gets psychologically fascinating. And this is the open loop I want you to hold as we go deeper. Silence does not just affect how others perceive your words. It directly affects how others perceive your emotional state. An emotional state is the single most important factor in social dominance assessment. When a person fills every silence, immediately when there is never a pause, never a beat, never a moment of stillness in their communication, the brain of the person listening registers something specific. This person is uncomfortable with silence, and discomfort with silence signals one thing: anxiety. Anxiety is the opposite of authority. You cannot project both simultaneously. Every time you rush to fill a silence, you are broadcasting at a neurological level that the silence felt dangerous to you, that you needed to neutralize it, that the absence of noise was a threat your nervous system could not tolerate. Now compare that to the person who lets silence sit, who finishes a sentence and simply waits, who is asked a question and pauses, genuinely pauses, before answering. That pause communicates something the brain reads instantly as power. This person is not afraid of this moment. They are not performing for the room. They are thinking, and they will speak when they are ready, not when the social pressure of silence demands it. That is a completely different signal, and it produces a completely different response in everyone watching. Here is the first specific situation where silence is the correct strategic move, and this will surprise you. When someone challenges you, insults you, or says something designed to provoke a reaction, the instinctive response is to respond immediately, to defend, explain, or retaliate, and that immediate response, regardless of how good it is, signals that the provocation landed, that it got to you, that they had the power to make you react. Silence, in that moment, communicates something devastating to the person who just challenged you. I am not moved by this. Your attempt to destabilize me has produced nothing, and the absence of my reaction is my answer. There is documented research from conflict psychology showing that non-response to provocation is consistently rated by observers as a higher status behavior than any verbal comeback, no matter how clever, because the comeback is still a reaction. And reactions confirm that the other person had power over your emotional state. Silence confirms that they did not. The second situation is in negotiations, disagreements, or moments of tension, when the other person has just made a demand or stated a position. Most people respond immediately, revealing their hand, filling the space with counter-arguments or concessions. The person who simply sits in the silence after a demand has been made, who lets it breathe without rushing to respond, forces the other person to live inside their own words. And people cannot tolerate that silence. Within seconds, they will begin to soften their position, add qualifications, or ask if you understood them, all of which shift the power dynamic in your favor without you saying a single word. This is one of the oldest documented negotiation techniques in existence. Say less than necessary. Let silence do the pressure work that most people try to do with words. And watch how quickly positions that seemed fixed begin to move. The third situation is when you are being evaluated in interviews, in first meetings, in any context where someone is forming an impression of you. The instinct is to fill the space with information, credentials, and likability. The high-status move is to answer what is asked, clearly and directly, and then stop. Not because brevity is always better, but because the person who answers precisely without rambling, without over-explaining, without anxiously filling every silence with more words, projects something rare. They are not trying to convince you of anything. They are simply telling you the truth and letting you decide. That posture is extraordinarily magnetic, because in a world where everyone is performing, the person who seems to have nothing to prove stands out immediately. Here are the 4 specific practices that will build this into your daily behavior. The first practice is the 3-second rule. After someone finishes speaking, whether it is a question, a statement, or a challenge, wait 3 full seconds before you respond. Not to be dramatic, but to genuinely let the space exist. This single habit, practiced in every conversation for 2 weeks, will change how your words land more than almost any other change you can make. The second practice is to stop completing other people's sentences. When someone is speaking and you already know where they are going, the instinct is to finish it for them to demonstrate understanding, to keep pace with the conversation, to seem sharp. Stop doing this. Let them finish. The person who waits is not slower. They are more controlled. And control reads as confidence in every social context. The third practice is to answer questions with questions when appropriate, not evasively. But when someone asks something that deserves a more considered response, it is completely powerful to say, "What specifically are you asking?" Or "Tell me more about what you mean." This is not stalling. It is the behavior of someone who thinks before they speak, and it is one of the clearest signals of high social intelligence that exists in conversation. The fourth practice is to identify your filler language and eliminate it. The ums, the you knows, the I means, the kind-ofs. Every filler word is a small advertisement for your discomfort with silence. Record a 2-minute voice note of yourself talking. Listen back, count the fillers, then record again without them. The silence that replaces them will feel unnatural to you. It will not feel that way to the person listening. Here is the layer beneath all of this. The reason most men talk too much is not because they have too much to say. It is because silence feels like absence, like they are not contributing, like they are being forgotten or overlooked or dismissed. So they fill the space with words as a way of confirming their presence. But presence does not require noise. The most present person in a room is often the quietest, because their stillness forces Attention in a way that constant talking never can. You cannot ignore someone who is genuinely, completely calm. It is neurologically difficult. The brain is drawn to stillness, the way it is drawn to any anomaly in its environment. When you are the still point in a noisy room, the one who is not performing, not filling, not proving, you become impossible to overlook. Not because you demanded attention, but because your silence made the space around you magnetic. That is the version of yourself this channel exists to build. Not louder, not more impressive, more real, more grounded, more present, in a way that needs no performance to be felt. Subscribe to Power Layers, because the next video goes even deeper into the specific behaviors that are shaping your social reality every single day, most of which you have never been told to look at. I will see you in the next one.